Wow. If there is anything that is a balm for the soul, it's watching the communication going on in the chat. I love how you welcome one another and just make everybody feel part of this community. Welcome to your April setup, my friends. Can you believe it? The fourth month of the year. I will be your on camera facilitator. My name is Jennifer Ogilvy. I'm usually in the Dallas, Texas area. Tonight, I am in Central Texas at our little cabin. And joining me, my co facilitator, is the fabulous Maya Martin Glenn. And Maya's hanging out in the chat tonight. And she's going to be answering questions. Oh, thank y'all. I will be full disclosure. I know a couple of you said I'm here and I'm not so good. I'm really not so good. I've had a pretty tough week. And I don't need a ton of stuff in the chat because y'all will make me cry. I have shared before, that my brother was on a sobriety journey and he had a bad relapse and he did not make it. And I'm here with you because I needed the love and support of the Sonder family. We're short on people this week, and I told you last week you were getting me all weekend long. We've got a little bit of a change. Thank y'all. I'm okay. And it is because of the work I've done with Silk and Sonder on myself and being part of this community. So I'll be a little shaky. I'll be a little sad. I'll be a little mad. I'll be a little glad for a bit. And I know that if anybody can walk me through that, it's y'all. So thank you. Thank you for just sending that love. Yeah, it is tough. But I have a very strong faith base and that has helped me. Maya is hanging. She's hanging out with girlfriend this weekend. That's important. People connecting with one another. And so she is going to be hanging out in the chat. All right, so we're gonna move on because that's what we have to do. Set your chat to everyone if you haven't already. And I know that we've already had a couple of people say, hey, this is my birthday month. So I want to take a moment to celebrate you. Drop that in the chat if it's your birthday month, if it is your anniversary month, if there is something special about April, you became, if you became a parent in April, and you're celebrating someone special in your life. Just let's drop some happy positivity there. And let's get going with our setup. My friends, thank you for the safe spaces that you create when we are together. There's lots of things to celebrate. Peg, 40 years at work. That's amazing. Happy birthday. Happy anniversary. We'll find the celebrations in life. There's the community guidelines. We create these safe spaces. That's why I can be here because I know that no matter what, here we are. So we want to remind you to just keep the chat with free of hate speech and no bullying. I feel like I don't even have to say that, but we do want to make sure that that happens. If you have any questions about your Silk and Sonder subscription or more specific things, hello at silkandsonder.com is our email address, and they will be able to help you. Cadbury eggs, that's a fun thing about April. We have this really cool theme, awareness. We have been doing alignment and we had belief and we talked about change and Lord, did I get change in March? And here we are with awareness. And so I really think this is going to be good for me. I'm going to do a lot of grief work through this theme. I'm so glad for that structure. But this is a quote from Gandhi, and I thought it embraced awareness, your beliefs that We did our beliefs in February. Your beliefs become your thoughts, and then your thoughts become your words, and your words become your actions, and your actions become your habits, and your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. Isn't that beautiful? And I just thought, wow, that is just all those steps that we take to just become ourselves and what we're supposed to do and who we're supposed to be and all those good things. And I think this month, that will happen through this month of awareness. We like to start with Mayha's letter. It is her birthday month. She's an April girl, and so she always tells you that in the letter. Be sure you take time to read it. It tells you why we're doing whatever theme it is. And I pulled out the words, that pop for me. It's about remembering what's always been true. I'm grabbing onto those words. Things like clarity, joy, confidence, and freedom. And it's about leading with intention instead of reaction. We all want to react sometimes when we need to be pausing and have intention, pausing before spiraling, soften before striving, choose what feels aligned instead of what simply looks impressive. So, a lot of deep inner work this month, true inner work. And I love that. I love that. So, Maya, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm thinking that we have an activity around this letter later in the month, or maybe it's the poem. I can't remember what I saw in the calendar, but I always like to manipulate this. It's the poem. Okay, so you can take this letter then and mark it up and find those words that you love. Our agenda tonight, we will start with our traditional monthly acrostic poem. We will be doing our March reflections, our April intentions, mood tracker, and habit tracker setup. And so, that monthly acrostic poem is like our anchor for kind of getting our brain thinking about the new theme each month. And so, we're going to invite you to find a blank space in your journal. Sometimes we have an acrostic page, not this month. We're going to free associate 9 words or phrases for our theme of awareness, and then create an acrostic poem using that word. And it can, A, W, A. It can start your sentences, but you can also embed the letters for awareness as you're working on that. And I have some other activities to suggest for you if you're not feeling an acrostic tonight. You can do a sentence, you can do one word. Some of you may already be working on your awareness poems. I would love to see your awareness poem. I'm asking you right now because I've got the other setups. I want to put some examples from y'all in the slide. So make sure that you point. Yeah, we are not shitting on ourselves. That's not good. Look, Nikki's already dropping stuff in the chat. Here are some examples. I've mentioned before, Maya builds the skeleton of our slide decks every month, and she always has some great examples for us to see. So here are some ideas to get you going. And if you have already done it and you want to um Joel, my Texas accent. If you want to do a secondary activity during this time, let's look at some alternative ideas. I said you can do another acrostic using the month's name of April, or if it's your birthday, or someone else's name or your name. If it's your birthday, you could celebrate yourself. You could spend a little time. I have lots of words to say to March. I really will be writing a letter to March. I haven't done that yet. I haven't felt like working in my journal. But welcome March, or say goodbye to March, or not welcome, but like say goodbye to March and welcome in April. And if you need to kick March to the curb because you're angry at it, do so. Write a note, personify that. And then I always suggest a haiku. That's a fun way to approach this. And then there's also the idea of a tanka, which is also a Japanese poem, but it's a little bit different from a haiku. And I put the structure there if you wanted to stretch your poetry brain and try to get a little, a little creative with that. And thinking about, awareness. So I'm going to put on some music while you get going. Some of y'all have already shared. So thank you, Nikki. February was an F month. Yeah. Um, Go ahead and drop your acrostics in the chat because some of those words may resonate with folks. And I'll put on a little bit of music while we start this, and I'll go back and forth between these slides, and then we'll get on with the rest of our setup. may still be working on your poem, and that's okay. Continue to work on that. I want to make sure that we value your time and get through all the setup tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward. I am laughing because we're not in school and there's no cheating. So Kimberly L asked Michelle if she could just copy her poem. Listen, we inspire one another. I think that's perfectly acceptable. No one's grading these, so copy away and do what you need. You all have some very empowering, beautiful words. I really would love to be able to drop some examples for the next setups in this deck. If you don't mind popping into Sonder Club and sharing, that would be fabulous. I would really appreciate it. And then again, some of these other activities are a really good way to say goodbye to a month and welcome in a month. Say goodbye to a theme, welcome in a new theme. So I hope that maybe you'll take a little time to do that as well. So let's start with our reflections for March. We have our beautiful April journal. I'm loving like the purples. It feels very springy and just I'm ready for like Easter. This is Holy Week for coming up for those of us who celebrate the Lenten season. And so the purple is beautiful. So yes, we will be on page 8. Is there anyone opening their journal for the very first time? Like this is your first time using your journal. If you are here for the first time, we would really love, well, yeah, but you know what I mean, Radhika. Like you've never done this before. Drop that in the chat because all these folks who love each other will take you in and give you a big welcome. I forgot. I forgot to ask. You're not bad, Radhika. I didn't make myself very clear. I'm kind of I'm sort of ditzy tonight. So Shalon is here for the first time. Welcome, Shalon. You will find this beautiful community so supportive. And these setups are such a great way to stay true to yourself and use your journal. So welcome, welcome. Okay, so let's go to page 8. We are going to look at this last month. I haven't filled mine out yet. I'm not ready to do that. I will. Um, but I'm just not ready. So if you're not ready and you want to just sit with music, you do you. But I like to start with the top of this page, the wins, the challenges, and the favorite moments from the month. So let's just work on the top part for a minute and then we'll come back and do the bottom section separately. So your wins are the things that you are proud of, that made you smile, that you're celebrating, the joys you had. If you did the Rosebud Thorn reflections each week last month, go look at those because those roses and those buds are the things that you can celebrate that were wins or things that made you smile. And then your thorns definitely can inform your challenges space on this page. Those are the things that didn't go right. We also suggest, grabbing your phone. What do you have photos of? What was worth your time? What caught your eye? What did you click? What did your calendar look like? Did you have meetings? Are you celebrating how well you did? Being present at work because you go back and you're like, oh, I had a meeting. I had a big meeting last month and I rocked it. So use those tools. Look at your journal. What did you get done? I'm gonna again put on some music while you work on this upper part of the page, and then we'll come back and we'll look at the things we want to start, stop, and continue. continue working on your reflections. If you haven't finished them up, we're going to drop down to the bottom. I did laugh because somebody brought up the time change, and I've kind of fussed about it all month. I really had a hard time getting on track, and then just now I realized that the time change came in the month of our theme of change. It never connected until the end of March. So there you go. Um, and I just realized, that we have Alice and I, our dads share a birthday today. I was telling Maya today's my dad's birthday, and I normally have started it out every day texting or every year texting my brother happy birthday to dad. And so started my day with tears in my coffee when I realized I couldn't send that text this year. So yeah, it is. It's love with no place to go. So I'm really glad that I'm hanging with y'all. And Kimberly, I'm going to be taking that grief spread that you did that I shared at the weekly setup, and I'll be using that inspiration. So thank you for that. You can go to Sonder Club if you need to see that, y'all. She posted it's beautiful. Okay, so let's drop down to that start, stop, and continue box. And, I love, you can see the example there. This person's going to restart. So just adding that little reminder to begin again. The things that we are starting are the things that aren't being done, but you want done, things to start making life a little better for you, things that might be worth trying or experimenting with this month. And then the things that are not working, they're going. What are you going to stop doing? And think about those things that don't serve you anymore. Where do you need some boundaries? And then, of course, we're doing a lot of stuff right. We showed up tonight. So, what are the things that are working well that you're going to keep doing? Maybe you tried something new a couple of months ago, and that's just going to continue and continue and continue. So, fill those spaces in. But let's also look at some other suggestions for this. I love to think about maybe using this with a single thing that the month might be bringing your way. Maybe it's a relationship that you really want to focus on. Maybe it's your health and wellness. Maybe it's decluttering or really embracing a core value. Perhaps you're going to focus just on finances in this space or habits. Maybe you bring your word of the year or our new theme of awareness to this space. So, kind of making it a theme. I love the idea of asking yourself questions. What is it that I want to start? Why do I want to start? Get to that why, and then how am I going to make that happen? And I love the way that that upper example is set up to really hone in. Okay, and then I can take this information. I always say this is like a compass for your month. This can inform goals, habits, activities when you give it a little bit of time and you focus on that. The one on the bottom, I love that it has word of the month of the word of the month. She's chosen word of the month, refine. She is repurposing. It says connection to being balanced and put that to feel balanced. I need to refine my routines and habits. And then the third box is used as a monthly plan, and she's broken that down into 4 weeks. And week one is morning routine. Week two is going to be focusing on the nighttime routine. Week three was going to be focused on movement, and week four on hobbies. So, breaking down some things that help with balance in life. So, I thought that was kind of a neat way to set that up, sort of um, repurpose that space and make that work for you. That really spoke. And if anybody's example is here tonight, thank you for sharing that. And then here's another sort of repurpose, but still creating this foundation for the month. And it's reflecting on, I feel this way because of, and what is that telling me? I need, or what do I want to feel? And so there's that example of that. So I'll put on some more music while you finish up this page, and I'll go back and forth between those slides that might give you a little inspiration for how you want to start, stop, and continue. y'all remember the movie La La Land? That's the song from that. I thought that was a good way to get some pep in our step with that start, stop, and continue box. So now let's slide over a page to our April intentions. And if you didn't want to, think about that stop, start, and continue yet, that's okay. Go do your intentions and that might inform, like as you're writing those out, that might inform that box. So it's really up to you. So here are those categories in the April intentions. And as the top of the page says, a new month, a new you. Setting intentions is not making a to-do list. It's asking something of yourself and giving yourself the strength to do it. So kind of these overriding concepts for this space. Now we start with these six categories: spiritual health, personal life, physical health, key relationships, money management, and professional goals. But they can be changed up. So if something doesn't speak to you, go and get a different topic, that's going to feed into your life. We have some tips and tricks for this page. Use our new theme of awareness. How are you going to set your intentions as you look at maybe awareness of money management, right? That could be a really neat approach to that. Perhaps you're working on, maybe your start, stop, and continue box is topical, themed, and you can take that over there, like self-love, self-talk, a relationship. And how does your relationship manifest in these different areas? Song lyrics, poems, quotes, stickers, and then some ideas with duality, like one thing you want to let go of and something you want to bring in or embrace. So let's just look at some activities now. Also, the reminder to grab some post-it notes if you're not sure where to go with this, like you see that example there, and you can kind of try them on for size and see what you think, and then maybe write them in the spaces in a couple of days after you've sort of thought through things. So we've got a lot of neat things happening this month that could also inform this space, like Stress Awareness Month, Parkinson's Awareness Month. It is Pickleball Month for anybody who is a player. It is Poetry Month, so maybe we go and try our hand at a haiku or a tanka. Child Abuse Prevention Month. That was always a big deal when for my profession, when we worked and we tried to do a lot of awareness when I was working outside the home and directing a school and all of that. So April's a biggie. National Financial Literacy Month, National Volunteer Month, and National Autism Awareness Month. So, lots of awareness going on this month. So, I love that. Maybe you can, incorporate something like that. Yeah, Robin, it is so true. Like this first social is kind of an overview, and we're going to give you a lot of ideas to change things up. And you can always use the journal just as it's printed. But also, we say, do what you need, take what you need, take what you have time for, jump in, let's look at some of these examples because there's a lot of people who maybe only choose four of these spaces. They don't even do all six of them. So here's a list of category suggestions. And you can see this example. They're changing spiritual health to mental health, and they're doing at the physical health. They're going to just use that as their finances. But Maggie, this is yours, right? Because there's the word refine. It's got to be. Um, Physical health, career, a me box, like that's amazing. Or leave a box for reflection and go do a mid-month check-in here. Here's duality. So an idea of I want more of something and less of something. And so you can see how they have framed that out. I'll go through all of these while y'all are working on this page. Pardon me. Here's some other examples. You can see I said use the monthly theme, which is awareness. That there's an example of how somebody used connect. We've got stickers, one word in these spaces. Don't overthink it. And then also kind of approaching this as an affirmation statement like I can, whatever it is, I will. whatever it is. I commit to whatever it is. This person used I commit to, and then they put their whatever they're committing to in bold letters. And I always love this because the key relationships was I commit to allowing myself to feel sexy. And then the next one was I commit to cleaning to build family bonding. And I love that because all we all see is sexy cleaning. And I think that's the best example ever of that. It makes me laugh. There's some song titles. Here is a person who is doing like an affirmation statement. I am meditating on a daily basis. And then adding a supporting quote with that. Yeah, get into that sexy cleaning, Michelle. Here's a great example. This is asking the question who, what, where, when, why, and how. This example on the left. And so really leaning into answering those questions for each of these spaces. But look at the one on the right. Very clean, three categories: mental health, physical health, relationships. Keeping it clean, keeping it simple. So I love that. And then finally, we've got a couple more examples. Here's some visuals with like some doodles or art. And Michelle, right? Um, and then I love this example on the right. We've seen the little envelopes drawn here, and the categories, have been some of the categories have been changed up. So it's really about taking what you need. I've seen some people do four things. They focus on four things. They leave the bottom two boxes as kind of a check-in space. They just leave that blank. If you're brand new, maybe you look at three things. Pick your top three things that you want to focus on until you get the hang of it. But I'm going to put on some music. I'll go back through these slides. Please share in the chat what you'll be doing because your inspiration is so good for everybody else if they're feeling a little like, I don't know what I want to do this month. So that'll be really helpful. So share as you're comfortable, and we will do our intentions and go over to our trackers. All right. How many of y'all are doing post-it notes and you're going to just try them on, try these intentions on for size? Remember that this is being recorded. You'll be able to watch it probably, yeah, erasable ink. Isn't that a great invention, Robin? You'll be able to watch this probably later this evening, and then we've got two more. It'll be the same content. It'll be me, but it's sometimes it's kind of nice to hear it again. So we're gonna jump over now to our mood tracker and our habit tracker. You're gonna find those on page 10 and page 11, and we'll start with our mood tracker first. All righty. So here we go. Your mood tracker is going to come in two flavors. It's going to either be a wheel, a round circle, or it's going to be hexagon. And so the months that have 31 days, you will see that round circle. This month's tracker is the hexagons. So I don't want you to get thrown off if this is your first journal. And so we have this tracker in here. When you track your moods, it can help you see those trends that are, maybe you realize, oh my goodness, every weekend I am happy, happy, happy. And so I'm tracking that and I notice I might need some change in my Monday through Friday. So we've got some examples of the mood tracker to show you. I will recommend that you highlight or designate the days that are different from like your normal days. So if you're a shift worker, you may not have traditional weekends, right? But you have your off days. So maybe you draw trace your little hexie for that day, which is a day off. Or, if you have a Monday through Friday thing and then you have weekends off, maybe you draw around the weekend hexies. And then that way, that gives you one more little piece of data about your mood. So yeah, when we notice those moods that, are changing, we can make changes like, oh, and one of my favorite stories a long time ago, I was hanging out with Maya and she was the in front of this on-screen facilitator, and somebody had shared at that social that her husband accused her of always being in a bad mood. And she picked up her journal and marched over to him, and she was telling us this story in the chat. And she was like, I am not. Here, here is my mood tracker. And she had this beautiful data. I just always love to tell that story. I think it's so funny. Like you just need to pay attention to the information, sir. So there are those two mood trackers. Here is our mood wheel, our feelings wheel. I know it never gets old, and I love to tell it. Um, so we have the six basic ones that we suggest. These are great to start with. If you've never done a mood tracker before, do your fear, love, joy, anger, sadness, surprise. Those words you see all around that wheel, but they're like the core in the middle. And then you can spread out to get very descriptive moods that you want to track. Now, I'll come back to this feelings wheel so that you guys can pull that. We suggest taking a couple of negative feelings, a couple of positive feelings, maybe a couple of, that meh kind of feeling. Focus on awareness this month, maybe, being aware of your moods. You can figure out a way to track several moods, or you can kind of overwhelmingly, I felt this way today. It's sort of that's up to you. Maybe you do a morning check-in and an evening check-in, and maybe you do two moods. So it's really, kind of up to you. I've got some examples to show you. So here's just beautiful examples. You can see this top one: sad, anxious, neutral, happy, jealous, and grateful. And so kind of what is my overall feeling for the day? And you can see how they have color coded that in. Oh, bottom left is yours. Love to see that. Thank you for sharing. Michelle was doing fear, anger, sadness, surprise, joy, and love. And Michelle, do you check in like one time a day, like kind of your overall how the day went? Let us know in the chat. We've got the one over on the right where you can see they're kind of taking these colors and and sticking them in there, So several of these days, most of the days are content, which is being color coded by orange, but also throwing in, you can see she has highlighted those sick days by writing sick, 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 sick on those days she was sick, doing some little, first day of the cruise. Oh my goodness, that was a fun one. So very happy, little overwhelmed. So you can see that's kind of a neat way to do that. So you check in twice. Okay, Michelle's checking in twice a day. Here is that round tracker, but I wanted to share this one with you because you can see the moods, but also look in the center. So on this, you could write along the edge of your page like that. And they're kind of using this in conjunction with symptoms, with noticing things like, did I have a migraine? Was it a pain day? High pain day for me? Did I have insomnia? So tracking in conjunction with how they're feeling. That's a really good idea. And then we have some repurposing. Y'all know I repurpose. Y'all also know I make copies of this tracker because I love I love this tracker. And so lots of different things you can track here. Daily affirmations, anxiety levels, depression levels, energy levels. I already saw some of you talking about you track yours on a scale of how did your day go? Angry, tired, joyous. You can track all kinds. So let's look at some repurpose things. So y'all look at this one at the top at the left. It's tracking many things: stressed, calm. I feel shut down, water, and then also adding water, walk, and a mindful pause, and then divided those little hexes up. So I'm thinking on a calm day, there's like you can see lots of purple and lots of pink ones for the stress. So I love that, but I love when you show, yeah, Maya said, I love mindful pause. When you have been mindful, if you are tracking and you need to take 10 minutes every day, this is a great way to do it. I love this scale of a tough day to a great day. That's a simple way to use that. And just sort of, you can take that tracker then and go look at your habit trackers and the goals and activities that you're setting for the week. Like what was going on that week that it was a tough day. And when you go look at your weekly spread, you're like, oh, I get it. There is an example of an old book tracker of mine. So I have nothing to track right now. I wait until I start reading books and I just write the title of the book and then I color in that dot with whatever color that book is. And I never know what I go from book to book to book as I go. So when I finish, I do that. This is daily satisfaction. Was my day what I wanted? And you can see that they've got it coded with you know uns unsatisfactory, but they've got like some little triangles to represent that. And, if it was pretty satisfactory, we're doing stars and asking what and how did I want my day to be? Did my day meet my expectations? So just that intentionality. So you could figure out the way you wanted to track that. Of course, I know lots of y'all use this as a somewhat of a workout tracker. Either what parts you're working on, is it leg day? Is it arm day? Or is it I walked, I did yoga, your activity. So a workout tracker is always a good one. A calorie tracker. And I look at the bottom left. This is an acknowledge your mood tracker. And it's not associated with any particular mood. It's just checking in with self and putting a sticker down. And so maybe, you've built that check in with yourself somewhere in your weekly setup or maybe on your habit tracker. And you're like, yep, okay, I'm paying attention. I'm acknowledging how I'm feeling. And that's it. How to start the day in a good mood. I love this one. It's an oldie, but It's if they do all six things, which is awake by five, do an affirmation, drink water, they've written it around the tracker, do the daily ritual, move their body, and healthy breakfast. If they do all six, they get that darker reddish color sticker. If they only do one of the things, they do the little light gray sticker. So I think that's kind of a fun repurpose. Here is an example of a step tracker and color coding, but also writing the number of steps. We've got the activity tracker walk. Did I do yoga? Did I do Zumba? Did I do weights? So just kind of tracking what else I'm doing. And this is an oldie of the business tracker. So the tasks that need to be worked on for if you're like a small business owner, this tracker's great. So I always say, yes, Leanne, I thought it was because I saw Swin Fit feed. And I know that you do a lot of those tracking. I put that one in because it was the Hexy. So let's put on some music and work on this tracker and let us know if you repurpose or what moods you're tracking. I'll go back to that feelings wheel. And then we will do our habit setup. I wanted to call out that let's see. We were talking about consistency and sometimes it's hard, so use the tracker for something, that you'll do. Maybe you just want to track how many loads of laundry you did. And every time you do a load of laundry, you color it in and then you give yourself a big reward ribbon at the end of the month. But I did actually want to talk about Sarah just put, that she uses this when she's taking care of her mental health with her provider, and she shows the mood tracker. So there's that accountability built in. So if you're looking for some accountability, challenge yourself to say, okay, here, hey, everybody, click, put it in Sonder Club. Here's my blank exercise tracker or my blank mood tracker. And I am holding myself accountable. I'm going to show up in 30 days and post how I used it. And let the community help you with that, that consistency. Kind of challenge yourself to do that. And if you want some buddies, say, call me out when it's April 29th. So anyhow, oh, I love that, Michelle. So now let's slide over to the next page, page 11, and look at that habit tracker. I love this tracker. Love, love, love this tracker. And you are invited to fill in all these spaces or just track two or three things. You don't have to fill it all out, but I've got some fun examples to show you. Now, I love this because the tracker can help us with those new things we want to start. Remember the boxes we filled in, start, stop, and continue? Maybe some of that can show up on this tracker. And so I say bring those habits in there. We're going to maybe think about what do we need awareness of in our life. Now, I really want to encourage you if you've been using your tracker and you're still kind of bring the same habits over. It can take a long time for really hard habits to get hardwired in your brain. And so you may need to see something on your habit tracker for, 6 months before you maybe remove it and say, okay, that one's hardwired in. I don't need, I don't need help with that one. I'm going to add something different. So feel free to bring those habits over from your past month. You can choose a theme of something you need. I really think this month I am going to find, vitality is my word of the year, but that's not feeling right now. So I'm going to find something to kind of ground myself for the month. And then find a balance. I'm gonna call Maya out because she always shares, she is a bed maker, whether she's in a hotel or at home. And so she puts make bed at the top of that tracker because she will do that, check it off, and then when she's opening that page, there's the rest of those habits waiting for her to take a look at. Oh, I love that. Maya says because of National Poetry Day, she's going to read a poem every day. So I love that. I may do that. That would be really soothing to the soul. So here are some great examples. Notice the one on the right is leaving two spaces blank. So give yourself permission to do that. And I love the different things that are being tracked there. So water, instead of just a check off that they did that, they are actually writing the ounces of water. So that accountability. How many minutes did I move? And they're writing down those minutes. How many servings of fruits and vegetables? Writing those in. And then how many minutes of mindfulness and reading did I have? So very specific tracking. You could also track with hearts or checks. I usually do check marks, but you can see the example there on the bottom left of that. There are those things leaving that bottom one blank. Look at the bottom one really quickly because you can see how days across the outside circle, they've drawn in some dark lines to designate those days as either weekends or something special going on. The one above it has actually written Monday, Tuesday, the letters of the week so you can notice which are weekdays, which are weekends. So, somehow designate that in your journal. We have, some blank spaces there. That reminder that those are part of your story too. And I will shout out right now, maybe somewhere in the middle of the month, put a little note to yourself on your weekly spread. Go check your habit tracker. And if you're seeing things that, maybe there's a space that you just didn't do what you thought you'd do, give yourself permission to put a different habit there because obviously you need to realign with what you actually need at the moment. It's okay to change this up mid-month if that's what you need. I love these little music notes, and you can see they left the bottom two spaces blank for tracking that. Then there's some blank spaces, and why? Because it was the end of the week rush. I'm just not worried about that. There was a hospital day there on the second. The one over on the right has written in the thing that they did for fun and creativity. So there, it's tiny, tiny, but it's that reminder, that tracker of this is I wanted to have fun and be creative, and that's how I'm going to do it. And then use those pretty stickers to check off all those other things. And this was looks like a fun month for this person. I know they're so great. And Robin says they're engaging and creative, but I am a black pin check mark person. So don't feel like you have to do something like this if it doesn't speak to you. Notice how this tracker on the left has the weekends designated and paid time off, retreat weekend. So I love that. I love how those weekends pop there. And then some more reminders. You don't need to fill in all the lines. And then you can code things like lunch, overnight after work, and supper. They've got on the left one, they're going to do some little tracking in there. And then we've got, there's an old example of mine. I'm always working on my morning and evening routines. We know this about Jennifer. So there is my morning and evening routine tracker. The one over on the right, you see that whole space, and I'm just coloring that one in, right? COVID got this person. And so they're doing that, but they've kind of embraced the rainbow to color in their space. And then that reminder that failing a couple of times doesn't make you a failure. You're going to be sitting with this tracker in a month from now and go, look at what I did. So give yourself grace because it's not worth the stress if you happen to miss something. You're human. And then we have some habit tracker ideas for this space. Let me put on some music, go back through these slides, tell us what you're doing, what goes on this tracker for you. Michelle B shared that she's putting her inner child self-care habits here. And so those are the things that are going to tap in to finding her flow and being so good to herself. And there was some conversation about, yeah, do an easy, if you do Wordle every day and you don't miss that, put Wordle as your first thing. So when you go to that habit tracker, you can check it off and then you see all the other things that you are intending for yourself. So friends, we're ready, right? We're gonna do April. We're saying saying goodbye to March, and we're ready for a new theme and being, finding this heightened awareness of our lives. I am so glad that you carved out this time. I've got a couple of cool things to share with you. First, we want to ask you to share in Sonder Club. I'd love to see anything that you are comfortable sharing in Sonder Club tonight. So do that because you saw people say, that one's mine. Even if they're old, they may show up in 3 years from now. You never know. I think, Leanne, that one of yours was a couple of years old, but we grab it and we keep those ready to share with y'all. We want to remind you of our personal life coach. And I'll probably be hanging out with Jenny a little bit as I try to figure some feels out this week. And I'm going to really embrace that little, that childhood heart. I think that's going to be good healing for me. And we would love to ask you to please take just a few minutes. Go check out Trustpilot. Go check out the Apple and Google Play stores and the Silk and Sonder website and leave reviews. That is the kindest thing you can do for something that's so magical in your life. So we are encouraging to do that. You can go grab those links there to do that. I actually left my Trustpilot this past week, my Trustpilot review. Um, I kind of felt a little, I'm so crazy about it that I forget. And then, but anyway, go do that. Pay it forward to this beautiful Silk and Sonder journal. And then we also are going to be offering this minimalist digital version of the journal. It's only minimal. It's not the hard copy. But if there's somebody in your life, or maybe you would like to try a little less graphics and just the content, this might be for you. So Maya is dropping that link in the chat as well. And then, we had some fun tunes this evening. I tried to think about titles that sort of embrace this idea of awareness. So I'll drop my Spotify playlist there. And y'all, I really appreciate your patience tonight. I needed to be with y'all. It helped me to have something normal to do. So thank you for that and for being supportive. I just love this community. I love who you are. Thanks for coming, and I'll see you maybe on Sunday or